Captain Pickle and the Battle of the Sandwiches. Once upon a time, in the very ordinary kitchen of a very ordinary house, lived a very extraordinary hero, Captain Pickle. He wasn't just any pickle, mind you. Captain Pickle was brave, bold, and, well, a little sour, but that's what made him a hero. One day, as Captain Pickle was lounging in his jar, a cry for help echoed through the fridge. "Help! Help!" came the tiny voice of Peanut Butter Pete. Captain Pickle leaped to his feet. "What's the emergency, Pete?" he asked, puffing out his little pickle chest. "It's the sandwiches!" Pete cried, trembling in his jar. "They're rebelling again!" Captain Pickle gasped. "Not the sandwiches. Last time they rebelled, the whole kitchen ended up in chaos. Bread slices flying everywhere, mayonnaise smeared across the floor, it was a disaster." "Not to worry, Pete. I'll handle this," Captain Pickle said with a determined crunch. He grabbed his trusty toothpick sword and bounded toward the bread box. When he arrived, it was worse than he could have imagined. Sandwiches were running wild all over the counter. The ham and cheese sandwiches were flinging mustard at each other, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches were sticking themselves to the walls, and a particularly feisty grilled cheese sandwich was trying to dive into the toaster. "Sandwiches, stop!" Captain Pickle shouted, waving his toothpick sword. But the sandwiches ignored him. They were too busy causing mayhem. Just then, Captain Pickle spotted the ringleader, the one sandwich who always started trouble, Sir Crust-a-Lot, a gigantic club sandwich with extra layers. "Well, well, well," Sir Crust-a-Lot sneered, towering over Captain Pickle. "If it isn't the soggy cucumber trying to stop us again." Captain Pickle narrowed his eyes. "I'm not soggy. I'm pickled. And you're ruining this kitchen. Stand down, or I'll be forced to stop you." Sir Crust-a-Lot just laughed. "You think you can stop me? I have layers upon layers of bread, cheese, lettuce, and ham. What do you have? A toothpick?" Captain Pickle raised his toothpick sword high. "I have bravery. And crunch." With that, Captain Pickle charged forward, ready to defend the kitchen. But Sir Crust-a-Lot was ready too. He tossed a giant lettuce leaf at Captain Pickle, who skillfully dodged it. The other sandwiches cheered as the battle raged on. Captain Pickle was fast, dodging tomatoes and sidestepping flying slices of cheese. But Sir Crust-a-Lot wasn't easy to beat. Just as Captain Pickle was about to take a flying leap at Sir Crust-a-Lot's top bun, he tripped over a loose slice of tomato and went rolling across the counter. The sandwiches gasped. Was this the end of Captain Pickle? But then, an idea popped into Captain Pickle's briny brain. He stood up and called out to the sandwiches. "Why are we fighting? Aren't we all supposed to work together to make delicious meals? What would the kids think if they saw us like this?" The sandwiches looked at each other, confused. Captain Pickle went on. "If we keep fighting, we'll never be eaten. We'll be left here, stale and forgotten. But if we work together, we can make the best sandwiches ever." There was a long pause. Even Sir Crust-a-Lot stopped in his tracks. "He's right," shouted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from the wall. "What's the point of fighting if no one gets to enjoy us?" Sir Crust-a-Lot frowned, then sighed. "I suppose you're right, Captain Pickle. There's no use in being the biggest sandwich if no one wants to eat me. Captain Pickle smiled, though he was still a little out of breath from all the dodging. Now, let's clean up this mess and get back to doing what we do best, being delicious. And so, the sandwiches stopped their rebellion and worked together to tidy up the kitchen. Captain Pickle, of course, led the way, making sure every sandwich found its proper place on a plate. By the time the family came in for lunch, the sandwiches were perfectly arranged, looking fresh and tasty as ever. As for Captain Pickle, he went back to his jar, ready to rest after another day of saving the kitchen from disaster. But deep down, he knew that as long as there were sandwiches, there would always be more adventures ahead. The end.